Yes, hello, my very good people right there. Um, Today I want to talk about something. I'm talking about the passing away of our former president. For me, I said if I don't talk about President Mohammed Buhari, I don't think I, I have really done well. I want to, stick my mouth into Mohammed Buhari, former president of Nigeria. Yeah, as you all know, he passed on sometime last week, and he was buried on Tuesday last week in his own hometown, I think, Kashina State. And uh, but the day he passed on, there was a lot of mixed reactions in Nigeria. We saw videos where some Nigerians were celebrating his death. Even in the northern part of Nigeria, a lot of people were out on the streets, celebrating the death of President Mohammed Buhari, former President Mohammed Buhari. And there are other reactions from some Nigerians who were not happy why others were celebrating his death. Now, I am not justifying that someone's death should be celebrated, but there are times when you push people to the wall, sometimes they are forced to do things that they did not intend to do. Let's have in mind that President Buhari was not the first president that have died in Nigeria. We have had a couple of past presidents that have died. We have presidents like late Alhaji Shehu Shagari. We had the likes of Abacha. We also had Shoneko, Chief Shoneko that died. And our amicable president, Yaradua, that died. You know, Yaradua even died while he was in power, while he was a president when he was sick. And the Nigerians missed him. Nigerians cried. Nigerians mourned his death because he laid a legacy in the few years he ruled Nigeria before his death. So Nigeria still missed him to date. He's still being rated as one of the best presidents Nigeria ever had, in person of late President Yaradua. Now, going back to Mohammed Buhari, who just passed on just a few weeks ago, and people came out and they were celebrating on the street. The point is this: you can't eat your cake and have it. President Buhari, if he had done well for Nigerians, if he had done well for every Nigerians, and I don't think anybody would have had the reason to come out and begin to celebrate his death. Now, let me take you people back to history about this man. I will do this video phrase by phrase, chapter by chapter, but let me start with this chapter 1. President Buhari was born in Douala in 1942, and he was said to have attended an Arabic school, Arabic primary school, where he learned how to rear cows. But later he was enrolled in the modern primary school, where he attended and finished, where he graduated, and later enrolled in the secondary school, known as Provisional Secondary School Douala, then, where Buhari was an excellent student, as he was described, and later he was said to have joined the Nigerian military in 1962. He enrolled in Nigerian military school in 1962. And fast forward, in 1975, he was said to be a governor, a military governor, I think, of Borno State, where he served as a military governor. And later, in 1977, this same President Buhari was appointed as the commissioner of Nigerian Petroleum and Resources. And later, he was also appointed the chairman of the NNPC, Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, then that was first established in 1977 by the then military head of state, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, or do I call him at that time General Olusegun Obasanjo, who made him the chairman of the NNPC. Now, something happened while Buhari was the chairman of the NNPC then. The sum of 2.8 billion US dollars was said to have missing under his watch. Yes, at that time, 1977, the sum of 2.8 billion, I'm not saying millions, 2.8 billion US dollar was missing under the NNPC account in one of the banks that was in London. I think the bank was known as Midland Bank in London, in UK. Yes, that was where the money, the $2.8 billion just developed wings and flew away. Buhari was never held accountable. Nor was that money ever recovered. The money just vanished from the bank, and nobody was held accountable. Neither was Buhari, nor that money ever recovered. Now, I will keep moving forward. Fast forward in 1979, General Olusegun Obasanjo handed power to the civil government, and he handed over government to Alhaji Shehu Shagari, who won that election under the MPN party. He became the first executive president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in 1979. I'm talking about late Alhaji Shehu Shagari then. Then in 1983, Buhari was said to be the commanding officer of the 10th Brigade of the Nigerian Army, somewhere in Borno State. And along the line, something happened in 1983. Some Chadian soldiers were said to have intruded into our Nigerian territory. And they came in there through the borders. And Colonel Buhari was then giving instructions to lead the soldiers that took care of those the Chadian soldiers that came into Nigerian border. So Colonel Buhari took the actions. He chased those Chadian soldiers out of Nigerian territory, and also chased them into Chadian, across the Chadian border, into Chad, which was against what he was ordered by the then president, late Alhaji Shehu Shagari, who said he should not cross the border. But Buhari did. Now, in December 1983, this same, that is 31st of December 1983, this same Buhari overthrew the civil government of Alhaji Shehu Shagari. He took over power with some flimsy excuses that the civil government was corrupt. He accused them of corruption and indiscipline or whatever, and took over power. And then he truncated the civil government that was started by General Olusegun in 1979, where he handed over power to Shagari as a civil president. Buhari ended that era of that civil government, that democratic government. Buhari ended it in the name of coup. Now, while as the head of state of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Buhari began to arrest so many people. So many civilians were arrested, and the politicians, about 500 of them, were locked up in various jails, including some businessmen and women. And Buhari came up with a decree after suspending the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He now came up with decrees. Decree number 2 was the first thing he established. that he said it was a war against indiscipline. He also had Decree 4, which was a decree to curtail any free press, that no media or media or press has any right to criticize his government. So he established Decree number 4. And in so many of these decrees he established, he went further and went after one of the ministers then who was on exile in London, in person of Alhaji Umaru Duku, who was previously the Minister of Transport in Nigeria. Buhari went after him and said that the man enriched himself with the sum of $1 billion US. $1 billion. That was what Buhari said. And what did he do? Buhari and his security personnel, they planned on how to go to London. They made a plan to go and bring him illegally from London. So what they did was that they went to London and adopted this Alhaji Umaru Duku in his residence in London. They adopted him, induced him, and placed him inside what they call a diplomatic crate with the attempt to fly him into Nigeria. But very unfortunately for President Buhari's plan and his co-host, the mission failed, as the UK customs and immigration officers were able to uncover that crate, and they were able to rescue Alhaji Umaru Duku then. And that brought a beef between the UK government and the Buhari government here in Nigeria. That was in 1984. As that was not enough for President Buhari, under that decrees that he established, he made laws under that decree and said anybody who peddled drugs or was found wanting with drug peddling would be sentenced to death, because previously in the Nigerian Constitution, drug trafficking was not a death sentence. But Buhari made that decree and made a drug offense in Nigeria as a death sentence. So as that was not enough for him, now these men who were arrested period before Buhari established that decree number 2 for drug offenders, these were Bat Owo and Mr. Bernard, Bernard Odegbami and one Mr. Lawal, who were arrested previously before Buhari made that decree. And what he did was that he backdated that decree and then got these people tried under the tribunal, and he approved their execution right there at Krikri Maximum Prison there in Lagos. They were all executed under that decree 2. And also, President Buhari did not stop there. He went further and arrested our one and only Afrobeat king, Fela Kuti, who was embarking on a music tour in US, and he was traveling with his crew, and he was arrested at the Murtala Mohammed Airport in the name that he was trying to export foreign currency for a musician who was going to perform abroad. What do you expect him to travel with? This same Fela Kuti was arrested, and he was taken to the tribunal where he was tried and was sentenced to 5 years in jail. Yes, they got him locked up 5 years in jail. Now, taking you back to Umaru Duku's case, have in mind that the reason why Buhari said he was going after Alhaji Umaru Duku was that he embezzled the sum of $1 billion US. But meanwhile, this was the same president, General Buhari or Major General Buhari, who under his account, under his watch in NNPC, the sum of 2.8 billion US dollars was declared missing. 2.8 billion US dollars just developed went and flew away from the bank account. But he was never arrested. He was never held accountable, nor was that money recovered. But this same man has the liver to go after other civilians and was accusing them of embezzling $1 billion. And he attempted to go and adopt him in London through illegal means to bring him into Nigeria, which the mission failed. Now, fast forward. Fast forward. In that 1984, this same Buhari, Major General Buhari himself, his personal aide-de-camp happened to be a son of one emir in the northern part of Nigeria. And that emir was said to have arrived from Saudi Arabia with not less than 63 suitcases with unknown contents. And these suitcases were allowed to pass through the customs and immigrations of Nigeria unchecked. And people began to ask questions. Why were those suitcases not checked? Why? So that brought a lot of controversy, which Buhari could not be able to give any good answers. And exactly in 1985, President Buhari government was toppled by General Ibrahim Babangida, who picked him up and then kept him in one of the house arrests somewhere in Benin City. And he was arrested there. And then later, he was later released and then allowed to go back to Daura, his hometown in Katsina State, where he stayed. Then came the Abacha regime. Around that 1994, 93, 94. Abacha established what was called the PTF, Petroleum Trust Fund. And in that trust fund, this same Major General Mohammed Buhari was made the chairman of the Petroleum Trust Fund. Now, under Buhari's watch, they were taking out 6% of that money under the PTF, and they were allocating it to the military for a military purpose. And those money were never accounted for what they were used for military purpose. This was what happened under his watch as the chairman of the Nigerian Petroleum Trust Fund. Yes, under the Abacha regime. Now, I will come back later in chapter 2 to talk about Buhari's activities during the civil government in 1999. Thank you very much.